In the world full of mass-produced watches that are artificially made scarce to uplift the market, Grand Seiko are truly a fresh breath of air, offering you not just a higher-end experience than its price, but are also handcrafted for exceptional execution and unique looks, and are actually available for purchase. We live in the times where every screen we look at has the time on display, and the times when we wear the watches for the pleasure of ownership, pride in the experience, and to celebrate life's milestones. And then, if you really need a very special piece to bring a smile to your face, you can call Grand Seiko a home. In the price range where what you typically get is a standard tool watch with not so much luxury attributes to it. Rather, what you get are the sporty characters, looks, vibe, and the brand name. I simply can't think of a single brand that offers a product with not only all the sporty attributes in the watch, but also the luxury feel and experience. Let's admit that before we purchased our first higher-end watch, we many times thought, why to spend so much on a watch when you can actually get a watch that tells the time for a fraction of cost? And you simply cannot find the answer to that until you get hold of that higher end piece, wrap it on your wrist, and start to experience the joy, the sense of achievement, the feel, and the sensational experience that the watch will offer to you. Where you typically get watches under 10K that are historical, iconic in looks, and of course reliable with decades of being in service. With Grand Seiko, you truly get the experience that enhances the joy of owning and wearing a wristwatch. Not to underestimate, Grand Seiko have been around for long enough, and this model we are looking at is one of the offerings to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the brand. While there are a few new models released this year, this one featured in the video reference SBGH279 is unique and new in many ways. Firstly, this is a completely new addition to the 44GS case line, offering the dial and the experience that wasn't on offer before, and as such is neither an upgrade of an existing model nor a variation. Rather, it's a completely new reference. Then it also not only offers a new color to the dial, but also texture that wasn't seen or heard of before in the GS or any other brand's range. In this first 44GS 3-hander watch, we have a slate grey dial, which is very interesting in how it looks and then how it changes the looks. It has a soft texture-like look with vertical brushing or engraving done to it, which is somewhat similar to the vertical lines you see on Snowflake, but the texture here is not quite the same. It does not have the same three-dimensional texture or depth as Snowflake. And then in result, at times you do get a grey snowflake-like vibe, but when lighting changes, it almost becomes like a brushed grey dial with satin finish to it, and you can see the brush lines even from half meter away. Further to the interest, as you continue to change lighting, it will also offer you metallic looks and vibe from the dial. So you basically get a new look and experience under different light conditions. The dial color complemented by the texture is another area to talk about, and the slate grey color with simplistic approach and plain silver colored hands and indices adds that touch of sleekness and elegance to the watch, as opposed to the offerings with bright and flashy dial colors with sunburst and glossy finishing. The grey color itself is very interesting. It is light in shade under most of the lighting, and then the vertical lines that are quite straight but are not quite regular add that haphazardness and the look of slate-like color, which adds a very cool and interesting texture to the watch. The hour markers and dial hands here receives signature Zaratsu polish by Grand Seiko, and they shimmer like gems in the dial. I explained in my review of Snowflake, as per link above in the top right corner of your screen, that the hour markers and hands on Snowflake come fully polished on the top surfaces. But here, if you look closely, the hour markers have vertical straight lines machined on top surfaces, and then the dial hands have very stunning brushing done on the top surfaces. Both our indices and dial hands have chamfered profiles, which are again Zaratsu polished, So expect to see those stunning light storms from the dial when it reflects light simply spectacularly. There is, however, no lume in the dial, neither in the hands nor in the hour markers. So expect some difficulty reading time in low light conditions. Another distinctive character of this watch is the 44GS case, and this is the first watch that GS have offered in this case without the GMT complication. So while you enjoy a lesser cluttered dial without the fourth hand that shows GMT time, you get this watch for about 1000 Australian dollars less than the GMT reference. The 44GS case is my personal favorite, and despite its historical significance, it offers the watch a very bold, angular and a broad profile, and the watch overall has very proud looks. The beauty of GS cases lies in the Zaratsu polish, and let me tell you that this level of polish is simply not available in any other watch, and it really makes GS a very special watch. The lugs are not only angular, but they also taper down to enhance the stunning reflections from the polished surfaces. And then you have a flat surface that comes brushed to offer contrast in the finish and experience. The case here is simply one of the best in terms of shape and profiles, and literally the best for this price when we talk about finish and polish quality. The crystal has a slight domed profile, and while it has internal AR coating applied to it, externally it isn't coated, which means that it will reflect light and show reflections of objects around you when viewing the dial. It can be a negative as it makes it a little hard to appreciate the beauty of the dial, or a positive as it reflects light, adding to the character of the watch, and overall complements the blingy Zaratsu polish, and the watch looks well balanced overall. When you look at sweeping seconds hand, it doesn't quite flow as smoothly as the spring drive movement, but this is the smoothest sweeping hands you will see in a mechanical watch. And the reason for this relatively very smooth seconds hand is its frequency of 10 beats in a second. That not only results in very small steps of seconds hand, but also a relatively more accurate and precise timekeeping. When you look at the case back and the crazy fast oscillations from the hairspring, you immediately notice that a lot of engineering and precision has gone into the making of this movement. The watch comes with +5 to -3 seconds a day of time accuracy, and the movement has 37 jewels operating at 36,000 vibrations in an hour to offer a power reserve of 55 hours. The movement is good looking and comes with decent level of decoration, especially if you notice the Tokyo stripes on the rotor and bridges to beautify the experience and looks. Under the macro, GS truly pushed the boundaries, and you will struggle to find a watch in this price with better finish. The hour hand comes beautifully machined for both brushed top surfaces and polished sides. The brush lines are very fine and easily showcase one of the best brushings to be seen on dial hands. The minute hand shows similar perfect finishing for all surfaces and sharp corners and angles. The underside of seconds hand took me by surprise, and it is not only not machined, it's not even clean, and it most likely received no treatment whatsoever in the whole of the process of making of this watch. The hour markers come with very fine and high-end treatment, and there is practically no flaw or even dust on side. The seconds hand comes with decent finish, and the joint has no deformity or compromised looks, so it's safe to say that its assembly was cautioned. The dial shows not only very interesting but also the finest brushing finish with no surface irregularity or inconsistency on display. The text is very sharp and clear, and even under macro shows no flaws in the side. On the wrist, the watch wears exceptionally beautiful. My wrist size is 6.25 inches and wristband is 55mm, and although the watch case is 40mm, the watch lug to lug is 46.5mm, which is not only very easily manageable, but thanks to angular profile, the case has broader and muscular looks to show presence on the wrist. The perfectly polished lugs, case and bezel alongside the domed crystal mean that the watch will play with the light absolutely beautifully. The case thickness is 13.3mm, and thanks to lug profile that tapers down both horizontally and then vertically, the watch sits on the wrist very seamlessly and beautifully. The 44GS case does help with how the watch wears and feels on the wrist, and I don't find it thick or out of proportions from any dimensions. The watch comes with steel bracelet, which is mostly brushed and has polished edges on the links. My only gripe is that GS don't treat their bracelets the same way as they do the cases. And see the polished surfaces on the bracelet. They are easily not Zaratsu polished or has same finish as the case. The bracelet does not taper down at clasp, and the straight profile doesn't quite go well with its otherwise dressier looks. The clasp is double button release and does look firm. It, however, doesn't come with any micro or easy adjustments on the go. Grand Seiko SPGH279 is the grey watch that I personally think offers the combination and experience that simply gives a very new and fresh experience in the world full of black, blue and green dials. The best thing it offers is then the texture, which is very interesting. It looks soft like fabric and upon change of light becomes brushed like metal. It is subtle, elegant, classy and sleek in the looks with all grey dial and no other colors to offer a unique monotone experience. An experience that is simple, pure and satisfying. And then there's Zaratsu polish to beautify the experience with very right amount of blink and distortion-free reflections. The tone of grey that when you look at, it reminds you of moments that capture life in its simplest form. Or let's say the beautiful moments of cherish that are captured and kept as a memory in a grayscale. A scale that displays the moment in its simplest yet the purest form.